Doug Chamberland is sitting in the studio with me. That's Captain Doug Chamberland, whose book comes out today, Bury Him, Don't Rock the Boats, This Is in Order, is the subtitle of the book, and we'll get to what that means in just a moment. First, let's set up so people know who you are. Born where?
And this has been a mark on my heritage ever since it happened. I'm kidding. But on Thanksgiving Day, 1942, my parents were in Scottsbluff, Nebraska, having Thanksgiving Day dinner with my mother's parents, and I was born in Scottsbluff.
Right there. Okay. But
I was conceived and everything in Wyoming, lived in Wyoming all those months before I was born.
Right.
And then lived at LaGrange ever since.
Okay. Did you continue to ruin Thanksgiving for everybody after that, or was it just that one time?
Always. I've even been called a turkey by some people who know me real well.
Okay, so we get that out of the way. All right, so you went to high school there?
I did.
LaGrange? Okay.
And we had the largest graduating class in the history of the school up to that time, which was 10.
Yeah. But that's huge. That is a cute little town, by the way. I've driven through there a few times and thought, yeah, it is. I've never stopped. I've never had a reason to stop. But as I drive through, I think actually it's a nice looking
little
town.
You're not into cute things or what? If it's a cute little town, you should have stopped.
But there's no reason to stop, is what I'm saying.
Well, there's a little restaurant there. They have great food.
What little restaurant should I go to?
It's called the Longhorn Cafe.
Okay.
Because it was the LaGrange Longhorns. That was our mascot.
I got you. Okay, so I'll stop in and have. Do they have breakfast there?
Absolutely.
Then I just found out what I'm going to do, because I like finding those little out-of-the-way restaurants.
It's a mom and pop deal, and they're great people, and people will look at you kind of strange because you're a stranger, and that lasts about 30 seconds.
Yeah, and then you're all good.
Right.
Okay, so that's the next place I have to stop. I'll look that one up. So then you got out of high school, and did that begin your military career right away, or how did it all get into you joining the Marines?
No, I was fortunate enough to be elected state president of the Future Farmers of America my senior year in high school, and part of the obligation for that was to be in Wyoming that following year when you were in office. So, and I was fortunate enough to get an athletic scholarship to the University of Wyoming, so I went there my freshman year. Flynn Robinson, I don't know if you've heard that name or not, but he was a basketball player that played here in Casper, and then transferred to the University of Wyoming, became a pro eventually. He was coming down there, and the chances of me getting to play any ball for the next year or two looked really slim. Mm-hmm. And really all I wanted to do was get out of college. So I transferred to John Brown University in Siloam Springs, Arkansas, and was able to get an athletic scholarship there. After 3 years there, I came back to Wyoming and was teaching and coaching at a little town called Veteran, which is southwest of Torrington. And 1 year of that, and the local draft board drafted me. And they, at that time, you were drafted into the Army, and this was before there was a lottery. So I took a look at it. I had a college education. I thought, well, maybe I could fly jets. Mm-hmm. I had one eye that prevented that. So then my rationale was, well, I'll go to the shortest officer candidate school of all the services so we get this over with. And the Marine Corps was the shortest officer candidate school.
Okay. So you become an officer. At what time was the Vietnam War already going at this time, or did it start just after?
It was, the buildup was going on. I graduated from college in 1964, went in the Marine Corps in October of 1965, graduated from Officer Candidate School in December of 1965, and came home on leave. And I had heard there was a team on the base at Quantico, Virginia, where Officer Candidate School and Basic School were, and that they used for recruiting, and they had both a basketball and football team. So I went down and tried out for that team, and I made the team. So I would go to basic school during the day and then play practice at night, and our games are on weekends. So we traveled them down the East Coast primarily, and we got to see the anti-war protesters up close and personal at games, and those were tumultuous times.
Yeah. Okay. But so at some point then you're called to go over, but you've already seen the protesters here. How does that make you feel?
Well, it was disheartening, but not near as much as it was to veterans who were coming home. What actually happened at the end of that first season, the commanding general, the base general Masters, sent word to me and asked me if I'd be interested in staying and playing another year, which was legal to do. And said, sure. So I stayed and played an extra year. And during that time, Senator Cliff Hansen, who is the grandfather of Matt Mead, somehow word got to him where I was, and I was contacted and asked if I'd be interested in being in the White House Fellows Program. And, of course, Lyndon Johnson was president, and that was made available to military officers. You could go and work a year inside the White House. And I said, yeah, I'd be interested. I went and met with Senator Hansen, but the Marine Corps said no, that I needed to do my tour in Vietnam first, and I understood that. So played another year, and then in July of 1967, 1967, I went to Vietnam.
Okay, so, and for those who are just joining me, Doug Chamberland is my guest here. Bury Him is the name of the book that literally comes out today. When a Wyoming boy winds up looking at Vietnam, first impressions are what?
Well, I think I'd have to step back and answer that in a little broader sense. Growing up out here in the value system we have, and I address this some in the book, is a very unique upbringing. And I'm sure as many places you've lived, you've seen a difference living in Wyoming. We're very privileged, still are. As an example, the Wyoming legislature passed a law that's concerning the Code of the West. That's the way we live. But I'm here to tell you that's not the way the rest of the world lives in many places. And so as I look back at all the values that I had been taught, the fundamental background and beliefs that we have as far as competition and freedom and gun ownership and all those sorts of things, all of that came to the fore when I got there. And war is a very, very challenging thing, psychologically, emotionally, everything. As Patton supposedly said to the cadets at West Point, if you've seen his movie about the object of war, he said the object of war is not to die for your country. The object of war is to make sure some other dumb poor bastard dies for his. And that's what it's all about. And as you well know, there are all kinds of jobs and assignments in the military, and every one of them is absolutely important. And there's no way of moving the scale. But in my particular case, I was assigned to an infantry unit, and our job every day was to kill as many people as we could as fast as we could.
Okay. Why the title? We got to jump right into this. Why the title and subtitle, Don't Rock the Boat, This Is an Order? Bury Him's the name of the book.
Well, if I could, Glenn, to give a little bit of background of where we were.
Okay. I
got there in July of 1967. All I'd ever done was play basketball. And the 2nd Battalion, 7th Marines thought that they had been disfavored by having to have somebody like me show up, a brand new first lieutenant who had never done anything but play basketball. And what they needed were experienced infantry officers. So they were trying to put me on a fast track of training. And then on the 3rd of October of 1967, a man named Captain Lyle Johnson took over Echo Company, 2nd Battalion, 7th Marines. 3 days later, he was killed, and there weren't any other officers in the battalion that didn't already have assignments, and so the colonel took a chance and made me a company commander, having never been even a platoon commander. So if it hadn't been for my NCOs and staff NCOs, we'd have probably all gotten killed. I mean, quite frankly, a very steep learning curve. But God bless all those good Marines that helped me. So we had some great interaction with the Seabees who were working on a road north of Da Nang. We provided protection for them, that kind of stuff. But then as we moved into 1968, it was a very, very tumultuous time leading up to the Tet Offensive, at the end of January. And it became very evident that something big was coming. All the intelligence sources said that. And so when the Tet Offensive hit, we were just suffered like everybody else, except if I could throw this in about the media in our country, the media interpreted the Tet Offensive entirely different than what happened. I mean, they said, well, the North Vietnamese have shown they can win this war. Walter Cronkite said the war was over, all those sort of things. And so that was very difficult for us to accept, even though we didn't get daily media coverage fed to us. But, all of the letters from home, everything was very discouraging. And the strategic mistake the United States and the military records say this now, as the Tet Offensive was over, we didn't pursue the North Vietnamese and Viet Cong. They were able just to withdraw back to areas especially like southwest of Da Nang, and with relative impunity. So then they decided maybe we ought to be starting to take that effort to them. And we were on an operation called Worth. And oftentimes a company like mine operated by themselves, even though it was a coordinated effort, but it wasn't like we were a large battalion force moving in a coordinated manner. And one night we were dug in up on a ridge, and I got a call from the regimental commander, which was very unusual. And he said that 1st Battalion, 7th Marines was about to be overrun, and they were about a mile and a half from us. And so they sent us in to reinforce them. And we were able to get to them the next day. And the battalion commander told me what he wanted me to do. And then the following day, I sent out patrols. And one of my platoons found the remains of a Marine who had been left behind. He was missing his left leg, but his dog tags were on him. He was laying on a poncho. It was obvious he'd been carried by someone. And, it was just complete shock to all of us, my men and I. And so my first thought was, after seeing the unbelievable, was to get a hold of 1st Battalion, 7th Marines, because I was now attached to them, and tell them we needed a medevac helicopter to take these remains out. Because I had no idea who the Marine had been with. Turns out that he was one of theirs, and they had left him there 5 weeks before. And the book, the gist of the book, the most of it is about a 50-year mystery from the day we found that Marine and until now. And we finally got to the bottom of what happened. They ordered me on the radio that day to bury that Marine, and it was just complete devastation to all of us. My men, to this day, are just agonize over that, because that's the only hope we had, was if something happened to you, you get taken home. And if you look at military and recruiting and everything now, they always mention leave no man behind. Every time I hear that, it's like I have a spear stuck in me, because I was ordered to participate in burying that Marine and be part of a cover-up, and that is just incomprehensible.
Why the cover-up? After all these years, you found out why?
Because they left him behind. Okay. And Marines don't leave Marines behind.
So there's the reason for the cover-up is because they left him behind. Okay.
They try to claim, and if you're familiar with military activity, an Article 31 investigation is a confidential criminal investigation. They conducted that, unbeknownst to me, and in that investigation, we finally found the records just this past year, where in that Article 31 investigation, under oath, they had to admit they ordered me to bury him.
Okay. Now, family knows who he is. We have records of him. We know who this guy is now, and the family knows, I would say then, right?
The family, the mother and father are dead. Okay. He was never married, but he had a son that was born 2 months before he was killed, so the son never saw his dad. But I've been able to find them, and part of the book is about what we've tried to do. Just
don't want to leave him as an unknown. Exactly. I think would be the point. And is that also the point of writing the book, to make sure he's not left as an unknown?
Well, yes, and but one of my former students and student athletes at LaGrange made a comment to me 4.5 years ago about, he always wondered why I was so mad and angry. And I had to think about that 3 or 4 months, and then for some reason I felt inspired to write this book. I had no idea, excuse me, I had no idea if it was the fog of war or 50 years. Maybe I'd forgotten some of this stuff, and what had always come out in it, and with the use of a forensic investigator who had volunteered his time, is my memory was exactly what happened.
People can pick this up local bookstores?
I've got a website called Marine Doug Chamberlain, and I spell my name with the LAIN.com. You can order the book there. You can order soft covers there. You can get it on ebook there, and that website became active today.
And you can go ahead and look it up. I'll make sure to do a post on this so people can follow the links to all of that as well. Bury him, Captain Doug Chamberlain. Don't rock the boat. This is in order is the subtitle of the book. Bulk of the story, the most important part of it, is what happens after he was ordered to bury that soldier that they had found. And the reaction that he got from the Marine Corps, and I mean, it becomes quite a story as to what happens after. So we led up to the story in the interview of up to the point where he was told to bury someone who had been left behind and how it was devastating to the men. But again, it's what happens after that and his struggle over the years, including his struggle with the Marine Corps and other people that are higher up because of that event that you want to read about. And it's a story that he felt compelled to write. So if you want to go ahead and pick up the book, again, it's available now. It's called Bury Him. Don't rock the boat. This is in order. It's Captain Doug Chamberlain. And I will, during the course of the weekend, on the website, and you can find at wakeupyo.com or just download the app for free. And I'll include the links where you can go ahead and click and just order the book. And I did ask him as well, can you download that? And apparently, yes, because these days, the way we read has changed so much. Not only can you buy a book hardcover paperback, but you can also download the thing to a Kindle, your phone, any device like that. So you'll be able to read his book there as well. So, yeah, definitely a good read because I've been working my way through it. Definitely a good read. I'd recommend go ahead and pick that up.